before we get to this point that we're at now, you'll need to take a 5-gallon bucket and you'll need to fill it a little over halfway, about 60% full of grains, and then you want to fill it the rest of the way up with water and let that sit for 24 hours. That's it. It's that simple. Okay, here we go. This is how I do my grain jars. I've seen several different ways to do it, but I find this way to be the best. Normally this towel is brand new, but I just got through doing a set of jars a while ago, so it's been used once. That's the dirt that's left over, and we'll turn it over just to be extra clean, but it don't matter because these jars obviously have not been pressure cooked yet. But the grain that I showed you yesterday that I done the cold soak on, that is this grain right here. So I'm bringing it over after it's soaked for a full 24 hours. Nothing special, just let it soak. And then we pour away. Put that right on the edge there and give it a nice little bump. That'll get most all the grain out of there. Then you're left with that, right? Alright. So then you can look under there and you'll see all the filthy water. You hear it draining. Okay, so that's how we let that get out. And then generally, just to, I don't know, just to be safe, I like to rinse it one time, but that is not necessary. I've done it both ways, and both ways it comes out great. This is a really, really good method because a lot of people talk about getting it hot and steaming it off. That works too. Anybody who grows mushrooms knows there's about 10 different ways you can do any one thing. This is just the way that's the least trouble for me that I found that works. Being able to put the grains in the jar last night, in the 5-gallon jug last night, and then not have to think about it again. To be able to leave it alone, and then come in here today when after 24 hours has been, you don't want to wait too much longer than 24 hours because what will happen is your grains will start to, they'll start to sprout, and then they're no good. That's not what you want. So anyway, alright, we get them rinsed good. See the water filled up to there? Alright, cool. So once you see that, you want to let them drain. The color of that water is something akin to, we'll go throw up yellow. So anyway, you let her drain. Now you pick it up on this side and you'll see for whatever reason there will be more water on that side. Alright. See now when something falls right there, that's what I love this method. It's no problem because you got extra towel hanging off everywhere. So it should look out for you. Used to, what I would do was I would do this whole process like this, and then I would rinse it with hot water from in there. That way I could get a little bit of steam drying. But what I've learned is that doing the cold water soak, the water don't get into the grain as good as the hot anyway, so any excess water is going to soak into the grain when I pressure cook it. So now I'm just going to get some jars and set over here. All these jars have been cleaned, nothing special, just soap and water. The reason is, I've heard some people say you need to pressure cook them empty and all this other crazy stuff, but my thing is if you had to do all that, then what's the point of pressure cooking? You know, pressure cooking's supposed to be the part that cleans stuff, in my opinion. So you take it and you fill these up according to what you're going to do with them. If you're just going to add agar liquid culture to them, then you can fill them pretty much to the brim. But I plan to grain, but we will go over that in a later video. So let me just get all these about right. And like I said, at this point in time, you don't got to be real particular about your sterile technique, because these have not been pressure cooked yet, right? All right. Probably for the video, this would be a point to where I fast forward to the end, but since I'm actually recording it now, I'm going to talk to myself just to practice. The reason I don't do liquid culture is just simply for my success rate. I have tried liquid culture, and I thought that liquid culture would be way better than agar, because dealing with liquid culture, there's a way that you never have to open the jar, you know, and for whatever reason I thought that would work great. You know, I was like, me not having a flow hood, I'm thinking that would be the best route, but for some reason my percentage of jars that contaminated with liquid culture, and I tested the liquid culture on agar, so it wasn't that the liquid culture was messed up. My success rate versus agar is just insanely in favor of the agar. And I learned with the agar, well, I ain't gonna start with that. We're talking about this right now. So anyway, this is the way that I am not a fan of pressure cooking for an hour and a half. I know a lot of people says that's enough. You know, I've heard several people say that that's the time limit that they use. Once again, all I can speak on is me and my at-home personal experiments I run, and my success rate is noticeably, we'll just say noticeably, so that way I ain't throwing some exact number out there. My success rate is noticeably higher when I go ahead and put the timer on 2 hours after the pressure cooker gets to 15 psi. I've also noticed that my pressure cooker, it starts jiggling at about 12 psi, and it's supposed to be a 15 psi weight, but the gauge don't say 12 yet, you know. So I said all that to say that you should probably get a pressure cooker with the gauge, because them 2 or 3 psi does matter. Now these gallon containers right here, what I'm filling now, this is something that I haven't seen anybody else do except me, but I'm real big on trying to be good to the environment, and I have just seemed to notice that, no, I said that wrong. I do be as friendly as I can to the environment, and in my opinion, using plastic bags for your big stuff is just, I mean, it's doing the environment dirty, you know. There's no other way around it. And if there was no way to get around it, I mean, I would understand, because we all love mushrooms, you know. So if that was the only way to do it, was to use them big old plastic bags, then I would understand. But it's not nearly the only way. You can take these big gallon-sized jars. Now, don't try to agar these jars, because for whatever reason, once again, my success rate is low trying it like that. What you want to do is you want to agar the quart jars, and you want to give that, you know, every 10 days to 2 weeks, something like that. You want to give it its time to do its thing, and then we're going to use the quart jars to grain these big jars And I'll show you what you're going to end up with here in just a second. Let me get through with these. Well, I'll show you in order, people. That way we ain't getting ahead of ourselves too bad. We're going to get ahead of ourselves some, but I'm trying not to get ahead too much. Every time you need to, you can use the towel to repluck the thing. And if you've got somebody at home that does clothes, if you're the one that does them, I guess there ain't nobody to fuss at you. But if you've got somebody that does the dirty clothes to keep them from fussing, all you gotta do is take this, actually, you bring the garbage can. See how I use that thing right there? This screen, this is one of the best investments in the world if you're going to do work in your sink. Just that little screen, but hang on one second. To keep the person who does the clothes from fussing at you, what you got to do is you got to bring this over here and just do it like that, and then just do a little dance. Just like that, and bam. Then you pretty much have done all that and kept your area pretty clean. Now, like I said, the reason that I like to do this versus the bags, it's strictly for the use of plastic. I like to keep my plastic use down, and forgot about these other two jars, y'all. That's okay. I had some more grain I was going to do later off camera when y'all wasn't here, but I might as well go ahead and get it done. So, let me put this back in place. But see, this is what I like about this. You see how easy the reset is? And all you do is bring your other jar, your other jug. This was done at the same time, so they ought to be just as ready. I didn't have quite as many in that one. And we'll see the results later on this, but I'm not gonna rinse this one because this part of the video was running a little long, and I didn't mean for it to be. I meant for this just to be a simple show and go video. Show you what we're doing and get out the way. All right, here we go once again. You got all that. Still had a few grains in here. Actually has several more jars, you know. So with the don't ask me why, but everything I do is based on my results of a previous experiment. And when it comes to the quart jars, I use unmodified lid tech. Also, when it comes to my 3-quart jars, I use unmodified lid tech. It don't seem to matter as much. But when I use these gallon containers of any kind, what I like to do is I like to poke 2 holes in it, and then I will put these syringe discs. Oh shit. I'll put these syringe discs over the hole, and they are just perfect. If you don't have them, micro pour tape works just awesome as well. So there's no need to worry. Micro pour tape is what I use most of the time. I just recently found out about them discs actually, and I wanted to give them a ride and see how they work because they're so cheap. Now generally I like to let this grain sit here for, say, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe, something like that, but you don't have to. That's totally not necessary because like I said, when it does a cold soak like that, the grains don't soak up quite as much as they can. They can hold a good bit more. So when you put them in that pressure cooker, it's going to steam off and make them grains drink up the rest of that. Almost guaranteed. This is a really, really good, easy, foolproof method right here. It's hard to mess up. As long as your grains ain't sopping wet or nothing like that, you know, and you hadn't let them soak no longer than 24 hours, you want to go from about 20 to 24 hours and you will be good to go. Like I said, hard to mess this way up. Hard to mess it up. I will show you, make sure we're still recording. Alright, beautiful. I will show you some of the results of this method one time. Oh shit. Here is a small jar. See how beautiful that is? See all that rhizomorphic growth? There's some where it hadn't quite made it there yet. But you see how pretty that ends up? Okay. Then here's some of these big gallon jars that I grain to grain. See how beautiful that is? Look at that, how thick. All the way around. These jars are almost done. And see, look, at the 2 holes in the top. And on this one, no holes, right? Alright, let's get back to it. I got all these crazy shaped jars because I tend to, like I said, I'm an environment nut. I like to be friendly to the environment, so it's hard for me to throw away a jar I feel like I could use, and this one is a couple ounces bigger than a quart jar, so I was, you know, intrigued just to see how that size worked. Yeah, I guess that's about it, friends. Guess that's about it. I want to thank y'all for stopping by, and much love.